Namaste everybody, my name is Yogi Aaron and I'm the owner of Blue Osa Yoga Retreat and Spa located in Costa Rica. I'm also the yoga trainer for our Blue Osa yoga teacher trainings that is also done through the Yogi Club. So today I want to just kind of show you what happens when you do child's pose. And I want to invite you to do this with me as I'm talking through it. I've got Angela here on the table and we're going to kind of just go through and talk about what's going on when you do child's pose. So what I want you to do, Angela, is just leave your hands for now beside your waist, and I want you to bring your knees into your chest and just kind of hold them there just for a few minutes, okay? Well, a few moments, not minutes. But this is a very dynamic way to kind of practice, if you will, a hip flexion. And so hip flexion is when you pull the knees up towards the torso. This is dynamic because Angela is actually using her muscles to pull the knees in. They're not being passively pulled into the chest. She's actually using her muscles. And in this way, one of the words I often use or say is that there's a lot of accountability here. Now, if Angela was to grab her knees, don't do that, Angela, but if she's going to grab her knees or turn around and actually do child's pose, she's actually passively bringing her knees closer into her chest. There's no accountability. She's bypassed the neuromuscular connection between brain and muscle, and the muscles lose all the force output that they once had. Okay, exhale, let's bring the legs down, just give you a little bit of a break so we don't strain our hip flexors. Now, can you bring the knees back in towards your chest? Okay, so this is another thing to point out here is you can see the space between Angela's belly or her ribs and then her thighs. So there's actually a bit of space. And this is her range of motion, and probably for most of you at home watching this, you're going to kind of experience or see something similar. Now, of course, you can bring your knees closer to your chest by grabbing them, but then there is no more accountability. You've bypassed the muscular system, and now you're using an external force to begin moving your body. And in that way, we really start to shut muscles down. So when we're doing this pose, you can see here that there's a lot of muscles that are engaging here. We're engaging the quads, we're engaging the psoas, probably a little bit of iliacus. We're also engaging some of the trunk flexors, the rectus abdominis, maybe a little bit of oblique, maybe a little bit of TVA, transverse abdominis, and then relax down. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. This is such a great pose to begin developing that sense of stability. Just to make sure that we're really strong here, I want you guys to feel how strong you are. Angela, bring your knees into your chest. And then from here, what I want you to do is push your feet towards me, straightening your legs. So straighten your legs and hold for 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and slowly lower down, and then relax. Good, bring your knees towards your chest. This is, by the way, a great muscle activation technique that I often teach people, especially before they're going to do like a leg workout, or before they're going to go for a run, or a walk, or hiking. Such a great exercise. Start to straighten your legs, and bring your feet out, straighten them, straighten them, straighten them. Angela is from Minnesota, and she was telling me that she gets her friends doing muscle activation before they shovel snow. Again, this is also a great one for that. And then slowly lower down. Good, let's do it one more time. Bring the knees to the chest. Very good, and then straighten the legs. And keep the legs there. Lift them up a little higher. Good, right there. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Slowly lower down. Just a quick question. And maybe for you guys at home, did you feel like it got easier each progressive time that we did that?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not that you're weak, it's just that what we're trying to do is reconnect the brain to the muscles so that when you straighten your legs, that your brain went, oh, we've got muscles there that we can recruit and use, which are the correct muscles to be using. If those muscles are not activating properly, the body is going to then recruit any other muscle it can grab onto to try and keep the legs there, okay? So now, Angela, what I want you to do is come onto your stomach and put your face into the cradle. Okay, so when we're doing child's pose, another reason why it's a horrible pose to do is because of the detrimental effect it has on the glutes. So Angela, keep your hands there actually. Bend your right knee and keep the hip down or the pelvic bone down, but I want you to lift this knee up as high as you can. Okay, and then there. So we're about 2 inches, maybe 2.5 inches off the table. So let's do it as a muscle activation. So let's start to bend the knee. And we're going to do it 6 seconds, 6 times, okay? So first of all, engage the glute. Engage your glute. There you go. And then lift this leg up. Good. And hold for 2, 3. Keep that pelvic bone down. 4, 5, and 6. And then come on back down. And relax. Good. Bend the knee. Engage the glute. And then lift up. There. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and come on back down. By the way, I love your pants, Angela. Very colorful. Bend your knee and engage the glutes, and then lift up. And hold for 2, 3, watch that pelvic bone, 4, 5, and 6. Come on down. Do you notice if it's getting easier?
Yeah, it's getting easier.
Because you're starting to go higher each time. Bend the knee and engage the glute and lift up. Good. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then come on down. So Angela is lifting up. You guys can see this, that she's getting higher. I wonder if you guys are getting higher each time. One thing I want to point out to you guys is Angela, I met her about 9 months ago. She was a mess back then. Now she's a lot better. Well, she was a happy mess too back then. But when I first did this exercise with Angela, she had no strength in her glutes. I don't know if you remember that or not. But it's very clear to me that you've been doing your homework and it's working because I can see it working. So good job for that. Bend the knee and engage the glute and then do it again. So lift up. So kind of feel my hand, see if you can press up a little bit more. So a lot of us in the yoga world are so obsessed with flexibility and then come on back down. And one of the better words that I prefer to use for flexibility is mobility. So many of us are obsessed with mobility, and so we try to stretch muscles to create more mobility. But we forget the fundamental rule of mobility is that muscles move bones, and in order for muscles to move bones, they have to be able to contract properly. Bend the knee, and then lift up. So Angela's range of motion is improving not because she's stretching, but because she's actually starting to work that glute muscle, and then come on back down. So let's just kind of test it, Angela, and see what happens. So bend the knee, and let's lift the knee up. Remember to keep that pelvic bone down, lift it up. Very good. And so now we've actually doubled it. So you're about 5 inches up, and before we were about 2.5 inches. So we increased it, relax down. So we actually increased it quite a bit. So we did a test for the front, we did a test for the back. Now, Angela, I'm going to get you to do your most favorite yoga pose of all, which is child's pose. Okay, so just come and press back into child's pose. So you don't want to do it anymore. I'm going to make you do it. Angela, of course, is a good student and doesn't do child's pose, but get down there. Well, because I haven't never done this experiment with you either. So now you're going to see what happens. So let's just pretend that this is a normal class. We'll hold it for about 30 seconds. But I want you, as Angela is doing this, to kind of notice a couple of things. Number one, the glutes are being overstretched. So that's really important. Number two, all of the muscles in the lower back are being overstretched. In order for a muscle to elongate, an opposite muscle should be contracting. In this case, the hip flexor should be contracting. Now, do you remember when Angela was on her back and she brought her knees into her chest? There was about that much space. Look at what's going on here. So Angela is very clearly going beyond her own range of motion. She's over contracting or passively over contracting all of her hip flexors and even into her trunk flexors. Angela, let's come forward, lie down, put your head into the cradle. So let's just see what happens. I'm going to be very curious here. So bend the knee and remember to keep that pelvic bone down and then slowly lift the leg up. So we're kind of almost back to where we started. She's got a little bit of force output. Relax down. I'm actually going to test it now. Lift up. Good. I didn't test it before. Relax. But I'm going to test it now. So relax and hold. Hold the leg. Okay. And hold. There's nothing. There's nothing. I wish I had tested it before when you were strong. But bend the knee again. Keep that pelvic bone down and lift up. Good. So it is starting to bounce back a little bit, but you guys can see that she did lose some of her force output of the glute muscle. Does it feel different to you?
It feels like I have to work harder now.
It feels like you have to work harder. And so that's because she's got to try to tap into those glute fibers to lift it up. But those glute fibers, the slow twitch fibers, are no longer connected to the brain. The neuromuscular connection has been disrupted. Turn over and let's just kind of check in here. So what I want you to do now is bring the knees into the chest, okay? And then slowly start to straighten the legs and just see what happens, okay? There. Does it feel heavier?
Yeah,
I can feel your legs kind of coming down.
Yeah.
Guys, what's more important is that you feel this at home, that you experiment with this yourself, because me kind of telling you sometimes doesn't really make it real unless you, of course, you believe me, but there's no better experience than direct experience. So go through these experiments on your own. Get really strong, feel strong in your muscles, and then do a passive pose like child's pose and see what happens in your body as you go back and retest yourself. In this way, it starts to become really real for yourself, so that way when you go to yoga class, you know that you should not be doing child's pose anymore. Guys, happy practicing. Keep doing the practices to help you live pain-free so you can go out to manifest and live your life purpose. Be well.